So we'll go ahead and get started. We are recording this meeting so that any legislators that don't have time right now but still want to hear it later will be able to. We will get it posted up to our web later. So if you have to leave early too, you can go back and listen to it. We're going to start by going over some of the things that will help you get through House Bill 2 when it is on the floor. And I will start by sharing my screen. So this is the legislative branch webpage, and right here on the revenue and budget information button, all things fiscal, if you click on that, you will see the fiscal divisions page. And right down here, there's a button called House Bill 2 materials. If you click on that button, you will get all of the things that we provide you for House Bill 2. There are links to the House Bill 2 amendments. So any amendments that House floor members wish to have written will appear here at this link. And you will have to tab over to the House Bill floor session tab. But you will see we already have some amendments already for the floor on Monday. But if you are a House floor member and you're interested in that, you can contact our staff and they can write you an amendment. Next, there's House Bill 2, a link to the bill itself is here. And we'll go over that in a minute with Nick Van Brown, who is in the room with you today. And then also a summary document of what is in House Bill 2, what we call the narrative. So House Bill 2 itself is just lines with numbers in it. It just kind of looks like this with a lot of numbers, and Nick will go over this in more detail. But for a more in-depth look at what the bill actually, what those numbers mean, you might want to look at the summary. And this is the summary document here, and it gives you an overall look at how much is in House Bill 2, the bill itself, and the type of funding, and then how much to each section of government, and then a little more detail down further on specific pieces of that budget. And so that's just a brief overview, and you might want to consider looking at that or reading that through to get a high level piece of what's in House Bill 2. And then the other items that are on this page are by agency. So you can click on any agency you're interested in and look at a more in-depth write-up that our analysts have provided. So those are the tools. And now we'll kind of go through some of those tools with you in more depth. And I'm going to turn it over to Nick to kind of go through some of the tools that are he helps put together.
Can you hear me, Susie?
Yes, I can.
All right. So let's maybe just start with House Bill 2. Can you bring that up?
Sure.
Sorry, I don't know where the computer is in this room to control things.
Okay.
So this is House Bill 2, and this is what you're going to be seeing on the floor on Monday. And like Susie said, it's a big long bill with a bunch of numbers in it. So if we scroll down to the first section right here, could you stop there? This is, you'll see at the top, it says general government. And the way this thing is, we get feedback.
It's coming through the chair up near the front monitor. Can you mute that one, Nick?
There, hopefully that works better. Thank you, Quinn. So the way this is organized is you have it all broken out by section of government. So as we go through this thing, you'll see general government, that's section A, then health and human services, is section B, and natural resources and transportation, is section C. But all of this is done all by agency, and they're all within their sections. So if we just stay here on the legislative branch, the other thing that you're going to notice about the way this is broken out is there's two blocks, and they represent the years. You'll see that right at the top for fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023. So each of these numbers is going, sorry. Oh, sure. That is where we are. So, and what we're looking at is the current version of House Bill 2. So these are the numbers that have come out of House appropriations that you'll see on Monday. So if you look at, like I said, besides being organized by agency, these are also organized by year. So right at the top, you'll see fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023. So each of these blocks are going to represent a year of the biennium as far as how this thing is broken out. Within those years, within the columns, you will see funding going across the top. So you'll see a general fund, your state special, federal, proprietary, and other. And that will be the same for both years. So when money is appropriated, say to the legislative branch, it must fit into one of these fund types. You'll have to designate what fund type it is. And for general fund, something like general fund, it's straightforward. We've got a general fund, that's what it is. For a state special, there are lots and lots of state specials, but it will fall into this state special bucket. So you are actually appropriating state special, even though there's actual funds associated with them, but that is what you're appropriating. The other thing of note here is you'll see the programs along the side. So you'll see programs 1, 2, 3, and 4. So Legislative Services Division or Audit or Fiscal. These are the programs within that division. Within that agency. But you're going to see other lines under those. So you'll have that main line, but there's other lines you see there, and those are labeled A or B. And if there's more of them, you'll see C, D, E, F. They'll go down. Those are called line items. And those are very important in that if you want a specific amount of money to go to a specific thing within these agencies, within that program, you must make a line item. So there are additional committee activities and it's designated as one time only. If you want that 125,000, sorry, I can't read it great, to go to additional committee activities, it has to be in a line item, because if you put it in the regular program, that money is available for that regular program. So that's one of the abilities of the legislature to direct money within these programs.
New automation is a line item.
It's a line item, yep. So the other thing that you're going to see here is language there at the bottom. Now, this language goes along with goes along with the program or the agency that we're talking about. So for example, all appropriations for the legislative branch are biennial. That's a piece of language that goes along with it that states these are biennial appropriations. They can be used in either year. So if you want any specific language that goes along with these, that is a additional intent or additional idea that goes along with this funding, that's where it goes. Yes.
Time or place you'd want to split that into each, the biennium, so they don't overspend the first year.
So many of your places, I think most of your places are not biennial. They are dedicated to a specific year. There are situations where biennial will make more sense. The legislative branch tends to spend more money in session years, so they split those out kind of evenly, but they will pull those across.
So if you've seen something there that you didn't want it split and it's not split, is that an amendment?
You mean if it was not split amongst the years? Typically, you will have these split amongst the years. If you see one that is just in one year and not in the other, but you think it needs to be split amongst the 2 years, yes, that would be an amendment.
Nick, would you ask members in the room to use their mics so that the people on Zoom, we have quite a few people on Zoom can, and we're also recording this, so.
No, if any of the mics apparently were more popular than we thought. So I mean, this is the basic structure, and there's a couple other pieces to this. If Susie, can you scroll down to the bottom of section A? So these are all agencies within section A, general government. And when you get down to the bottom, you will see this summed across. So you've got all of your fund types in both of the years for section A. Now, this is going to be the same at the bottom of the bill. You will see the entirety of the House Bill 2 budget. You will see, thank you, Susie. There, that total state funding line, that $2.2 billion right there is your general fund for fiscal year 2022 and 2.3 in 2023. So you'll be able to see the total spending in House Bill 2 there at the bottom. Beyond the actual numbers and the appropriations, you will have a rate section. This is often done with section A, but there's different kind of rates and different things that go along with these agencies. So if there's something of interest to you, amendments are typically, or a lot of the amendments we see usually go along with the actual appropriations up above, but there's this rate section. So if that is of interest to people, there's all sorts of rates for things down there. So Susie, can you go back over to the amendments page? So out of House Bill 2. Yeah. So as you understand the structure of House Bill 2, where it is, you've got to choose an agency and you got to choose, you basically have to say, where's this money going to change? In what agency, in what year? Are we talking general fund? Are we talking state special? You'll be able to make amendments. And the way you do that is you just come and talk to the fiscal division, and we will help create these amendments. And what these amendments are going to do is they're going to say page A6. We know that A is section A, that's general government. This is saying strike lines 25 and line 26. So there is perhaps a line item there or something there that this amendment would strike from the bill. If this were, and then there will be reasoning along with it. If you wanted to do something like adjust an amount, say in a specific program in, I don't know, DNRC, if you wanted to give them $100,000 more of state special in DNRC for a specific program, that would make an adjustment to that line. So that's what these amendments are going to do. They're going to essentially change numbers, strike numbers, add numbers, perhaps add a line item. You might move money from the regular program into a line item if you want it more specific. These are the kinds of things that would be done with an amendment that you would come talk to us about, and then that would be read over the House floor and voted upon. So are there any questions at this point? So, sorry, go ahead.
In talking about the amendments, I've been in the legislature for now 4 sessions. And in my experience, very few people who are not on appropriations bring amendments. And it's not like all of us in this room should hurry home this weekend and make up an amendment. And the reason for that, I think, is because the appropriations people have gone through this so, with fine-tooth comb, that those of us who haven't done that could really screw something up. If it would be hard for us to know how to amend it. Does that
Sure.
sound right?
I would say that the people on the Appropriations Committee bring most of the amendments, and that's because of their level of familiarity with the material.
Mhm.
So if you are steeped in this information, that's more where you would do your work. But if someone has had a particular interest in an area and it isn't on appropriations, they can definitely bring an amendment if they've got ideas. But I'd say that's typically true.
Sort of on a related question, I have a brilliant idea over the weekend, which is a big assumption, but I put an amendment to add $500,000 to a line item. And lo and behold, everybody votes yes. Where does the budget get balanced then?
Mhm.
If someone adds, is there an automatic subtraction, or is that something that gets wrestled with in as part of this process?
That's something that gets wrestled with as part of this process. There's you can add $500,000 to a line item. It's not going to come. We will then, be tracking that additional $500,000 through the process. When we talk about the balancing, we will talk about your revenue estimates and how that compares to your budget with that 500,000. If there's ending fund balance, how that would play in. So it's not an automatic. These are all your decisions. But at the end, that has to be wrestled with it at the end to make sure that you balance out.
Well, then I'll just follow up with, is the budget in balance now, or is there a pot of money somewhere that new monies can be allocated from?
Susie could probably answer that. She does our balance sheet. She could probably answer that better than I.
So currently, for the general fund, as of Saturday, we were structurally imbalanced, and I'll show you the status sheet in just a minute. And that means that your ongoing revenues were not keeping up with your ongoing expenditures. Now, the status sheet is based off of the HJ2 revenue estimate. And that estimate, although HJ2 had a hearing today, I don't believe they took executive action on that. So it is the official estimate, and that official estimate was adopted in November by the Revenue Interim Committee. So I will just quickly show you Saturday's balance sheet. So from the amendments page here, we just go, oops, let's go back here. So we would go back to our main House Bill Fiscal Division webpage. And right here at the bottom, we always have our latest status sheet in this kind of news and latest reports, but all our status sheets are kind of under the revenue updates and general fund status sheet button. So from Saturday, there's a little chart at the bottom here that shows you your structural balance. And so there's a little note here that says this is a warning, currently you're at 48 million below your revenues. So you're structurally imbalanced on the general fund side. So the status sheet just shows you general fund, but that is something to keep into consideration. You do want to have your ongoing revenues higher than your ongoing expenditures. And currently with the HJ2 estimate and the current level of activity of the bills that we're passing through, these were the bill list here, that's kind of where you were sitting. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, just one follow-up. At the end, that green line and that blue line have to be in balance.
Correct,
law,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
you want this green line up, to this, I'm sorry, you want this, this green line is your revenue line and you want this up above that blue line, so.
Yes.
So could you explain how this integrates with the American Rescue Plan and also with CARES money? Are they totally separate? But certainly there are things that could come from any of them. How do we figure out the bigger picture that's even beyond this bill?
I can take a stab or you can take a
Okay,
stab.
sure, go ahead, Nick.
So yeah, we're all trying to figure that out. I mean, there's rules along the American Rescue Plan money. And there seems to be some rules around some separation between these two monies. HJ, your revenue estimate and your House Bill 2, those are two things that generally balance. And I think the idea is to continue to look at those as a package, but there's this whole other pot of money that that's something that you're grappling with now. How do you integrate all that spending into this whole picture? I don't think that is there a clear answer at this point?
I think Quinn could speak. Quinn is kind of our designated person in our office that's kind of tracking all of the federal things, and he could probably speak a little bit more to it, but I think what you said is true.
Hello, members. Quinn Holzer, Legislative Fiscal Division. Yeah, I am working a lot on the federal bill right now, but I mean, Nick generally hit the high point is that, critical in this is keeping a separation because the federal bill does have some language that requires you cannot reduce taxes as a result, either directly or indirectly, of accepting this federal money, or at least pieces of that. But as far as how you're going to coordinate all of this, it's going to be a thing that we're going to have to monitor all of these. So there's going to be House Bill 2, and you're going to have your long range planning bills, as well as House Bill 630, which is headed to the House floor right now, I believe. And then House Bill 632, which is going to be the tool for this federal money. We're going to have to monitor all of those very closely and make sure they're coordinated, because there are going to be interactions with some that federal funding may be used for some of the things that are in the long range planning bills right now, which will change the impacts of those. There's going to be a lot of kind of massaging, tweaking, moving of the funding between all of those. And it's something that we're all going to have to watch very closely through the rest of session.
There was another question in the room.
Yeah, I think this is,
Sure.
it's flickering. Quinn, I appreciated your explanation, and I just wanted to ask you a further question in that direction. It seems to me that we have to consider the federal money, both of those buckets, as being one-time only money. It's not something that it's going to be sustainable with our own taxes and so on. So is that an assumption that you're making as you try to figure out where the money goes?
Well, the good news for me is that I don't have to make that assumption, because I'm not responsible for making those decisions. End of the day, you are. But I will say that the other day when Senate Finance and Claims and House Appropriations met together, they did lay out some guidelines. And one of those guidelines that they recommended to the legislature is that they keep in mind that this is a one-time source of funding. And so we don't want to stand up new programs that after this funding goes away, then the legislature has to find an alternate source of funding to continue that program down the line. So there, from what I have heard so far, and of course, in the end of the day, the whole legislature has to agree on how to make this happen, but there is an emphasis on using this in ways that leverages, maximizes impact immediately and benefits the state without creating ongoing liabilities for the state. I think that's your question, correct?
That is my question, and I'm glad to hear that somebody's working on it from that angle.
So keep going here in the interest of everyone's lunch hour. Susie, can you pull back up the website?
Sure.
So on Monday, I mean, what's going to happen is you're going to have this come in, you're going to hear it, you're going to have amendments. I believe the order, you're going to talk about these all by section. And I believe the order is section A, then E, C, D, and then finally B. The chair of those subcommittees, or the chair, the vice chair, whoever's in the House, will be speaking to what they did, the suggestions, and what has come out of House Approps. And the legislature will work through that. But that's basically the process that you will see on Monday. I would like to just show, can you bring up the budget, the BI, Susie? I'd just like to show you this as well briefly. In addition to the stuff that Susie showed, we have all this data interactively. If you would like to use it, this is on the website under our budget tools. And here you can see that same information. This is House Bill 2, just with some additional information. You can open those up and see what changes are causing things. Here's a version comparison. So you can see, for example, this is comparing House appropriations to the subcommittee. So House appropriations reduced the subcommittee suggestion by 12.9 million. This will adjust as you look at section or department or program. It's all interactive data, and it's all about your bill, and we will update this as it goes through the process. So once you all adopt a House floor version, that will show up here, be the current active version, so you can see everything that's happening within that House floor version. It's just another tool that you have to see how things have changed as we're going through the process. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but if you have any questions, please come and ask me, and it's available for your use and will be updated as we move through the process.
Okay. I think that was what Nick wanted to cover today. I wanted to just briefly go back and show you the House Bill 2 narrative summary, so that you can get, the numbers are there for you, but sometimes you want a little bit more if the budget tool is a little bit intimidating to use. The House Bill 2 materials page has this summary document that walks you through it just with small graphics. So your total, what is in what we call IBARS, the database, that this includes all the numbers that are in House Bill 2, the bill. It does not include the language pieces that are at the bottom, but currently you're at 12.6 billion. And so you can see the piece, federal and general fund and state special, how much of those pieces make up that 12.6 billion. And then you can see it by section. Health and Human Services is this 48% of that 12.6 billion. And then you can see it broke down by general fund. So the general fund piece is what's on the status sheet, because the status sheet is just general fund. And you can see that, you know, K-12 education really is a large chunk of that general fund. And then it also talks about state specials, the state special funding. This includes, you know, state special appropriations. What it doesn't include is all those general fund transfers that happen every year that go to state special funding. So that's not included here, but this is the state special portion, and that is typically Section C, the natural resources group that use state special. And then the federal, you can see is definitely the federal match for the Medicaid programs within Department of Health and Human Services really, you know, are a huge part of the federal budget, as well as transportation dollars for roads and that kind of thing. And then there's a brief write-up specifically to the general fund, some comparisons tables here, and then some high level, you know, what makes up the general fund differences here. And then also for your other funds, a brief write-up on the other funds as well. So that's something, if you don't have time to dig into the BI tool, the interactive tool, this is something that you might be able to get through maybe over the weekend, just to give you high level information. Of course, you would get more information, say, for example, if you went down into the agency level narrative, that gives you pieces, tables that show you different comparisons. It gives you, we always have these gray tables within the agency level that kind of give you a highlight of each agency, what the funding in that budget entails, and kind of the highlights. So if you're interested in that, and then again, yes, mostly House appropriation members will write a lot of the amendments for House floor, but if you are a House floor member, you may write amendments. And so you would just contact our staff, Nick or I or Quinn, any of us could point you in the right direction if you aren't sure of which staff member you would need to talk to. In addition, if you asked for a printed binder, when Amy talked to House floor members and asked if you wanted a printed binder. If you said yes, it'll be on your desk Monday morning. If you want to pick it up early, you can go to the bill distribution office today, this afternoon, and pick it up. Please remember to bring it back on Monday with you. If you forget, we really didn't print much extra binders. So, but if you did ask for that, it will be on your desk on Monday. So I think with that, we're probably about wrapped up here.
Yeah, we're shooting for half an hour, trying not to use the whole lunch hour, but if there are any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
As she was going through the summary, we're really not talking about federal money, right?
No, you are talking about federal money. You have to appropriate the federal dollars as
Okay.
well. So in order to spend, the agency needs an appropriation. So even if it's federal and coming in, they still need the okay from you in the form of an appropriation.
So that's why human services looks like such a big elephant.
It's big dollars coming from the federal programs. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any online, Susie?
I don't see anyone with their hands up, so I think we're.
Well, thank you, everyone. If there are any questions, please come and see us. Yeah.
Thank you.
A lot. It's a big list of numbers that we go